Noon. Good afternoon. Make sure that I am all set. Afternoon. Hold on one second. It's having a few technical difficulties over here, but I'm good now. Did a notification go out to the team at 2 p.m.? Did we get a notification
I
out?
didn't get
Okay, I'm
it.
just gonna send it out now. Just go ahead and ping it. I'm gonna send it now.
Yeah, it went out.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay. At 2 today at 2 p.m.?
Yeah, that's when I
Oh,
got it.
okay. Oh, okay, good. I just want to make sure. Okay, cool. All right, so let's just go ahead and get things started. All right. By watching or reading this, you're saying you understand the following. I am not a financial advisor, and this is not trading advice. This session is solely for educational purposes. There are significant financial risks associated with options trading, and I am not liable for your wins or losses in the market. If you decide to act on this information, now I'm just going to send another load of notification out to the team. Like, look, people need to come to this meeting, man. It's like after a huge win, everybody runs to the meeting. After a loss, people don't want to show up to a meeting.
Hmm.
When
And
that's
this
when
is
they
what
should come
lessons
to a
learned.
meeting.
Right.
Hey, man, we are live. Where you at? We should be here. All right, cool. Let's just go ahead and just keep on going because I'm just thinking that everybody would be here. I could be eating a crab cake right now, but I'm having this meeting for y'all. So let's go. I mean, I'm excited about the meeting, man. We got a big week ahead of us. Jackson Hole is this week. Um, Fed Chair Jay Powell's final Jackson Hole before he gets fired next year. Well, I'm not going to say get fired. He is not getting fired. He's just not being renewed. Let's say that, right? His contract is up. Yeah, so let's just go. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody is at the meeting. Everybody got on, but we got the. I'm gonna consider the time of everybody who is here and just go ahead and get things going. All right, all right. So let's just jump right into the options flow for Friday. So top options flow went into UNH, followed by TMO, Intel, and the VIX. Interesting. The VIX ETF and then Meta. On the put side, we had Tesla, MSTR, Palantir, IBIT, Microsoft, and CoreWeave. Let me just make a note here. That's interesting. The VIX calls on that list, but we'll get into that. All right, so let's just move along. All right, so yeah, this was Friday's performance. What's the heat map for Friday? I'm looking at some, just making some notes as I look at this chart as well. I just want y'all to know, right? These meetings, a lot of the charts that get covered at these meetings, they play out to perfection. There was a really big trade on here that we discussed last week, Goldman Sachs. And not only did it play out, it broke out and it ran. It was like it had this really big, this crazy bullish flag set up on it. We talked about it Friday. And, it was a really big trade. A lot of people made money off of it, but it was a really big trade. Just want to point that out. And I'm just making some notes here. Okay, cool. That's enough notes for now. Let's just move along. All right. So, this we updated this um, chart because every month we do our net profits at the end of each month. So the only reason I'm going through this again is because we've had a full month. And after then at the end of August, we'll update the totals again or whatever. But, year to date, we're up still north of 45, I'm sorry, up north of 47K on the year, and that's net profits based off of one option per trade alert. So net profits mean when you include the losses too, you subtract the losses from the wins and you get a net profit. And all you have to do is grab one contract. Now, again, there are people who buy a lot of contracts and like to, you know, just spend a lot of money in these water. And then you got different account sizes. So, but in this community, whether you make a lot of money or a little bit of money, you can make money in here. You can make a living, 47K, and we're only in August to be, and that's people's salary that we've already made, and with minimal risk, only one contract per trade alert. So just consider those things. And again, I'm not going to go through every single month, but we clear north of $6,000 in net profits every month around here. There's only been one month where I think we cleared like five something. Yeah, it was June. June was 5,900, and the net profits for that month it was under six. For July, $6,300. So we do this. We kill every month. So and as you can see, it's not cherry pick trades. You can see the losses on here listed as well, right? So just want to go over those things. So yeah, market talk. So speaking of trades, like I said at the beginning of this call, I said after a big win or something like that, everybody come to the meeting. Everybody hop on these meetings and just, ready because we just had a big win. But then after a loss, people aren't inspired to come to a meeting. And I feel like those are the meetings where you learn the most, where you get something out because you want to know what the why, what happened, what's going on, the what can you, because my thing is with losses and why losses are so important for me is because I'm not losing the same way. I'm not losing the same way again twice. And I feel like when we cover it and you put it on Front Street, then you you're verbalizing it, and when you speak it when you speak it out, you kind of like, you ever hear like the saying, like if you teach somebody something that you don't really know that you're learning, you're like, if you learn something new, go teach it to somebody else, even if it's to a dog or something. You're just getting it out, you're speaking it out, so you're processing it. So now we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about what happened and why it happened, so we can know, figure out to ways to make sure it doesn't happen again, because you're going to take losses, but you shouldn't keep losing the same way, right? So that's what's important to me. So let's go ahead and talk about the core weave trade. So Thursday going into Friday, I I saw that, hold on, I'm just trying to pull up this information while we're talking about it. Yeah, so Thursday going into Friday, core weave, they had that was the lockout period expiration. It was Friday. So and for people that don't know, that stock IPO'd months ago, and a lot of the early investors, they have to stay. They can't sell. They can't sell right after. They can't sell after the stock IPOs. There's a lockout period. So the stock have to wait a few months before they can take profit, or take whatever they want to get out. They can't do that, right? So Thursday was the end of that lockout period, according to FactSet. And also there was something else going on with it as well. They had also indicated that there were some block trades being organized, which could have been seen as positive because there was interest in the stock. But it was also an offering. Most of the time share offerings make a stock go down because it's like you're giving you're offering, adding more. It wasn't really an offering, but similar to an offering, right? And so the IV was pricing in a $10 move in that stock overnight. So And hold on, I'm just trying to bring up the information as we're talking about it. But I did put commentary in the chat, about the trade before, what my thoughts were and what we were doing. So what my first plan was, I said, well, let me just make the team some money first before we do the risky YOLO trade and swing into the next day. But the thing is, since the lockout period was ending and it was going to open up an opportunity for the shareholders to get out of the stock, that was a reason for the stock to go down lower, But then some people would say, well, the stock already took a beating because earnings were bad and it fell off a cliff. The stock was just up $187 and now is back down here battling around the 100 PL. That's a psychological level too. But it's like the stock IPO'd at $40, right? So for it to be up $100, they still up north of 100%, 120% on their investment, right? So it's like, so they could still take profit. And so it was just like a big thing, but they were pricing in a $10 move on the stock. So I'm like, okay. So what we did first I called out just some puts that, during market hours, and we made some money off those puts first, told the team to take profit on that before I called out the strangle that we were swinging. And we swung a strangle because there was going to be a big move in either direction. We didn't know what direction it was going to be, but I was expecting a big move to happen overnight before the market opened. Now, I just want to be clear about this. We talk about this all the time, but I just want to be clear about this. The only reason I'm swinging, unless I'm telling y'all like about a story the chart is telling, and we're just making a long term, a multi-day swing just to kind of like take advantage of something or whatever, where we're getting in early or something. Outside of that, when I alert a strangle or not a strangle, my bad, a swing trade at the end of the day, it's because I'm expecting a big move, a gap up or a gap down the next day. Meaning, so when the market, whatever price the market closed at today, I'm expecting for, let's just say we're talking about calls to keep it simple. I'm expecting price to gap up and an astronomical amount, or at least something substantial enough that I would not have been able to take advantage of if I waited overnight. Because think about it like this: we're not trading stocks, we're trading options. So when you're trading options, there's something called theta decay, time burn. And every single day that you're holding a trade is, the theta is burning premium off the trade. And then the closer you get to expiry, the higher the theta decay becomes. So that's like, I always tell you, like your contract, look at your contract as ice cream and theta is the sun. The closer you get to the sun, the more the premium gets melted away, right? And so going into Lotto Friday, if I wasn't expecting a gap up, and forget Lotto Friday for a second. If I'm swinging a trade, if I'm not expecting a gap up, then I can wait until the next day. Because if let's say if this, because we're trading options, if the price stays the same, let's say if the stock closed at 100 and it stayed at 100 until the next day, our contract would be worth less the next day because theta is burning time off of the trade. The only way you don't notice it, only reason you don't notice it, or where you wouldn't notice it, is if the contract or the stock keep making positive strides to the upside, right? Then it'll kind of absorb itself, right? Sometimes. But what I'm saying is, if I'm not expecting a big move or a gap up in the stock, then I can wait and I can get it cheaper. So I'm only swinging if there's a move that's going to happen that I want to take advantage of, right? So outside of that, there's no reason to swing. So yeah, we swung this trade, and the next day, the next morning, so I had an appointment, a doctor's appointment that morning. So I went off to my doctor's appointment. When I got out of my doctor's appointment, that trade was burned to a crisp. But I go back and look at the information. I came and I talked to the team about it. I talked to the team about it when I got back. I just held the stream. So let me just live stream and talk to the team about this trade. Again, I didn't have time to go look at anything and research what happened. I just, wanted to go and hop on. I was still a little groggy, but I still got on and just talk to the team about it, see if we can if there was any recourse. But the thing was, I went and started looking at the Greeks on there because And what the first thing that I noticed about the trade was because the stock was moving. The stock was making like a nice move. And I'm like, yo, why are these contracts? Why isn't any contracts moving on like around that, around where we were? And I'm looking and I'm like, oh, they ripped because and it's crazy. We were talking about this on stream the day before. And we were talking about Vega exposure. Remember, I was telling you how the way IV works is they multiply the Vega, or not multiply, they use the you take the IV, whatever the IV is, and you add the Vega to it. And so like every 1% increase in implied volatility, it's whatever the Vega is, that's added to your contract if you're for calls, or I mean, well, calls or puts it, and if the IV goes down 1%, it's subtracted from your contract. The Vega exposure had dropped down to zero on those contracts, on contracts where the Vega was high as hell the day before. So the IV was moving around, but they ripped the Vega out of it. So the contracts they weren't doing anything at that point. And then the Theta, we know the Theta was high because it was Friday. Now, a few things. So I told the team, I said, you know what? I was on stream. I said, well, since I left Friday morning, and I told them, I said, well, there was one opportunity before I went into my appointment where I could have just hopped on and said, go ahead and just secure the profits or something like that, or get out of the trade. And I didn't take that opportunity to do so. So I was like, I'm gonna probably talk to the team about just eating the cost of that trade, right? And
Mm-mm.
so, but let me just say one thing though, and then I'm gonna let you, if you
Uh,
got something to say, that's cool. So I'm like, because I didn't say I didn't, I'm just telling you what I talked to the team about on Friday on stream, what I was considering doing, just because, I'm like I left them, and the reason I didn't tell them to just get out of the trade was for, a few reasons. Earlier in the week, we were on stream together and I put the team in a Microsoft trade. But before I left, because I was like, I can't trust the team in trades by themselves when I leave, I said, let me tell them to go ahead and secure these profits before I leave. And we got rules in place and stuff like that. But I'm like, I'm gonna just go ahead and do this because I've seen how some traders are, and a lot of people don't read the rules or just don't follow them. So I got the team out of the Microsoft trade early. Now my snipers stayed in the trade because they know how to follow the price action, and they were on stream with me. I'm like, Microsoft is extremely bullish. I really don't want to not cut, but I really don't want them to get out of this trade. But if it pulls back or something goes wrong, they're gonna, it's just like a lot of things that goes on. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell them get out. Did that. Microsoft ran like a bat out of hell. And I did it again for Apple earlier in the week too. I'm like, I'm a go ahead and just had them get out of this Apple trade. I said, but I think Apple was bullish. Now we were on stream. We had a nice conversation about this on the stream. I said it's extremely bullish. I said, but it didn't do what I wanted to do by 10:30, and I'm about to step away. And I know we got a period where market comes down after this time, at certain times, and I think it was Wednesday or something too, and. I got them out of that trade. That one ran like a bat out of hell too. So I said, I'm just gonna leave them in. I said it's like they're in a strangle, number one, and I'm like, and at market open, the puts were up. The stock closed at like 99, I believe, and it dropped all the way down to 94, open at like 90, 95 or something like that. Went down to like 94 something. But yeah, so but yeah, I walked in, I went to my appointment, and when I came out, when I got back, I saw it. So I was just talking to the team about it, and that's what I was considering doing because I'm like, and I always try to take full accountability for when something goes wrong. And I do that because I'm like, if whenever I take full accountability for something and eat the cost of a trade, it's a lot of things I just don't do no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, because some people said, a Roman was saying, shout out to Juice. He said, well, why don't you just put the level on the chart where the stop loss is and tell them like if it goes right here, for them to go ahead and just cut the trade then. I did that with Meta a few months ago. And I literally recorded a 3 minute video and walked everybody through it and posted it in the chat. I'm like, if Meta drops right here, then it's put city. This is the level where it must hold right here, or it's going to go here. And I gave y'all a $10 downside where it would go. I went really detailed in that. And then a few people were still in that trade and complained in my DMs about it. And I ate the whole cost of that trade. So that's why I said so I didn't do what Roman asked me to do because I'm like, last time I did that, this happened. So I just got them out of the trade. But yeah, for this one, like I said, it was a few things, but yeah, that's what I was considering doing. KK, you were gonna say something, or that was just a
After
comment, or
you, yeah, I mean, I was stopping you when you said you were going to eat the cost of the trade because I just don't agree with that, and I have a few reasons why. Um, well, one, I feel that the rules and how we trade is very detailed in the community, as well as there are several people in the community who could answer a question if Antoine wasn't available, if somebody wanted or had a question. But I wasn't in this trade. I'll preface it with this. I'll preface what I wanted to say with this, that I was not in the trade. I was busy at work. But when I came back and I looked at what his commentary was when he called the trade, after he had called the trade, I see the puts were up. The puts was up almost 30%. Um, and then he said a few things in the chat, I believe, in under the call outs. And he says, he doesn't matter what he thinks he's strangling, but he says, see how the stock is dropping, but the contracts aren't moving. They're adjusting the IV. So for me, now my antennas is up because I'm like, hold on, is this a trade I even want to get into? Because the market makers, they're playing like things is going on, and I don't know how this is going to play out. If I'm somebody that does not trade, like, and I'm just saying this for people who are new to trading, like these are things that should be setting off alerts for you. Like these are the IV is a part of what is making our contracts move. So if I'm seeing that the contract is moving, but yet they're adjusting the IV, so my money isn't moving, now I got questions. Then the trade was called for 8:15, which means it was expiring the next day. Now the ice cream is has been sitting out in the sun all week. So now I know that the IV is about to be up. Like, I mean, the theta is about to be up on this contract. So that's another red flag. Then I'm like, okay, what do we talk about with trading on Friday? I don't trade on Fridays. That's my worst trading day. I avoid Fridays unless we have like big economic data, jobs report, or something like that on that day. I normally will not trade on a Friday. But if we're, following the rules that we talk about in here, 10 o'clock is when you want to be trying to get out of a trade on a Friday. It's 10 a.m. The latest 10:30, and that's if it's already playing in your favor. I'm not playing around on a Friday when I know what's getting ready to happen. Like these contracts is about to be expired. So I'm feeling like if I'm a new trader and this trade came up to whatever percentage, almost 30%, and he's given this type of commentary, now I'm wondering, should I keep this trade? Is this something I really want to do? Now we go from, am I thinking like a trader, like a business, or am I now trying to gamble? And that's where things start to get a little, that's when you start to lose focus on really trading like a business. So I would say that I just feel like you shouldn't eat the trade, because why would you need to eat the trade because you didn't come back to hold anybody's hand when you've already given all the rules and everybody knows? Then you got Max, and the shout out Max and Bryce coming in and saying, yeah, I took profit. We've been taught to do certain things, and you have to follow those rules. It's to protect you. It's to help you to be a better trader. Being a disciplined trader is the best trader. I'm literally, and people who in here know, we had a big trade of last quarter. I'm still trading off that money. I ain't even touched money that I literally, anything I'm doing with that. I'm not in every trade. I'm looking for certain big ones. I'm paying attention. I'm not trying to do too much. And that's that you got to develop that type of discipline when you're learning to trade with us. And I feel like Antoine, of course, he's calling out bangers left and right. But what trader do you want to be? That's what you should really be looking at. And if Antoine already gave commentary, if you sat and talked to them throughout, and I'm looking at what your commentary was right there, that was a lot of information on whether do I want to take this trade or not. And if you stayed in a trade and you didn't cut in the morning, like you just said, if I'm swinging, and this is said in the chat as well as in multiple meetings and on Zoom. If I'm swinging a trade, I'm expecting a big move at market open. I'm expecting it to already do what it need to do. So if we on a Friday, we didn't get the big move, and it's past 10 o'clock, I'm not in that trade. That just should be what the rule is. That's how you should feel if you want to continue to trade and be a profitable trader for a long time. So I just don't feel like you should be eating the whole trade. If you want to eat the call side, cool. But the trade went up to almost 30% on the puts, and you should be claiming that. That's how I feel.
Okay, okay. With some great commentary that you made, and I appreciate it. Does anybody else have any commentary, any thoughts on it, or I would like to hear some from the team.
Did anybody who took the trade, like how it played out for you? What did you do? Anything like that?
Uh, Honestly, me personally, I didn't take the trade myself either, just because there's way too much commentary going on for me, and it honestly it scared me away from taking it. So I just chose not to take it at all.
Okay, good, good. Because a lot of times that's my whenever I'm alerting a strangle, I always give a whole lot of commentary, especially if it's a risky strangle or something like that. I'm gonna give as much information as possible, hopefully to scare people away from the trade. And the people who understand it and absorb the information, they take the trade, and that's cool. Okay, that's good. That's cool. Anybody else? Because again, these meetings on what's up, Drew?
Hey, what's going on, Antoine? Yeah, I've been a little late, but I think we're talking about
Yes.
core weave trade. Yeah, so I actually took that trade, strangled it as well, actually has came out a little better on the put side. But the following morning, I had the same mindset as KK, right? Zero data expiry. We're expecting the move to happen, immediately once the market opened. Profit was there, right, on the call side. So I secured that, and then waited, until the market settled down and see what to do with the put, a couple minutes later, right? But for me, Fridays, the theta is going to be crazy as we approach 10 o'clock as the day goes on, right? So I was like, hey, we just want to get out of this trade, right? And then potentially re-enter once it, chooses a direction, or, once the, print, you know what I mean? Because we can, shift to next week's contracts and be more safe and things like that. So, I kind of, took the same methodology as KK, took the profit on the call side, and I let the put come back up and cut that side, just so I can be, fresh, reset, and out of those zero DTE contracts as fast as I could while it still made sense.
Right. But look, that Friday don't be playing with us, huh, Drew?
Man, Fridays, whew,
Friday do not play with you. I don't. I
in
don't
and
play with
out. Yeah, Fridays can be crazy.
Yeah, and I mean for everybody, for most of the people who've had like 2 hour coachings with me and stuff like that, they know we've done the numbers and see like Friday is everybody's worst trading day because most of the time people are trading with contracts that expire that week, and you trying to make something happen after power hours, just like the world, everything is going against you. The market is coming down. I mean, then another caveat for Friday, it was the third Friday of the month, so that's the monthly contracts, that's options expiration, so that's OPEX Friday as well. So they trying to pin the price at one place, and most of the time you're going to get the most volatility for the first 30 minutes, and then the last 30 minutes of the market. Outside of that, it's going to trade just like almost like a triple witching or quadruple witching Friday. So it's just like you got all of those things working against you. So you got to be out of there. And then I was also scanning the chat too. And again, this is stuff I did over the weekend. Because like I said, when I got back Friday, I just wanted to kind of just like get the team on stream and just kind of like gather our thoughts together and give them my thoughts on what was going on, what I thought about the trade. So, and that was all in real time Friday afternoon when I got back. But I was looking through the chat and I'm like, well, I didn't even see a single question about the trade, so I just assumed everybody got out of the trade early in the morning. Then that's what I assume. If that's the if, no, like, damn, no commentary or nothing at all about it, and that's cool. But yeah, but like I said, either way, my thing is with and I equated this to something else. There was a similar trade. Now we got to understand sometimes there are moves that are expected. If it doesn't happen, it's almost like earnings. If they're pricing in a certain if pricing in a move and it don't happen, you're gonna get clapped in the middle. This wasn't that case because again, like at least the puts did go in the money for a second, so you didn't, but it still didn't make that really big move that they were pricing in. So, it was like if as the day go on, you're gonna get clapped in a trade like that. Like I said, when I came out, I was and I took y'all out of those 99 puts that we had got in the day before, and I told y'all to take the profit on those. I did not get out of those. I swung those, but I put y'all in the 95s because I'm like, if it's gonna make this move, then I just rather have y'all back. I didn't want y'all to be in a trade that was like almost 700 and something dollars, like take the money and get out of this trade. But, I was in that trade when I came out of my appointment. So, I had to deal with that on my own. But yeah, but I just wanted to know, like, what are we doing? And in the future, like I said, I'm not saying that there aren't things like this we won't try or do, but at the same time, like if I'm not going to be around or something like that, I'm just going to, it's hard it's a really thin line. Like I said, I be wanting the team to make money, but at the same time, but now this is the reason when it's a full circle moment for like, when I told the team to get out of the Microsoft trade earlier, early because and you see that was Peter, shout out to you, man, because you knew to stay in the trade and you held it. I mean, we had some good commentary on stream. I think we stayed on stream all day that day. So and yeah, we had a really good stream that day. But the thing is, but when I walked away, I stepped away but I had to make a decision and so I just want people to understand my thought process behind some of these decisions that I make when I say, you know what, I'm just going to tell them to go ahead and secure that profit because a pullback, they jumping out at pullbacks, or there no one's gonna say anything. And I always say if I'm not paying attention, we all crash and burn. But but I do encourage the people, like all of the members who like to challenge me or whatever, and always like question you know certain things or just like and jump out there and when I'm not around, where are y'all antennas at? You know what I mean? It would be good for y'all to kind of speak up and sometimes or bring out some of the stuff. But it's cool. I know I got some other leaders that are stepping up in the group too because and on stream on Friday and shout out to AK too because on Friday we talked about some things. It was he was in a big UNH trade and it was a pretty big trade. And so I was talking to him about that, and he spoke up and he was sharing information about why he did it on the stream on Friday. And so I opened up some more things that we used to have in the chat for the team to have access to. So you guys can utilize it to come to do some analytics and stuff like that. We'll talk more about that in the chat, but yeah, just so I know there are some other people that are coming in and making some good money, a lot of money, and stepping up and speaking up. And and I just want to encourage more people to do that. Don't let like things where it's where you spoke up in the past and said, well, I spoke up and I got my head bit off or something like that. Okay, like most of the time people get their head bit off because they'll come in the chat and ask something like, where does this trade get called out at? Or where do the trades get called out? I'm like, damn, they didn't read the start here. They didn't go through orientation. So it's like if you start a new job and you had a mandatory orientation that tell you how to put your timesheet in. Then you go to your manager and say, excuse me, I'm new. How do I put my timesheet in? And your manager like bites your head off. It's like, because you take accountability because he know that you didn't go through that. You weren't paying attention to orientation. So now you're going to have a hard way to go at this job because, we it takes a lot of money to put together a training class with orientation. People get paid for that stuff. So if you're not, and that's your time to learn everything you need to know. So now you're taking time away from people who are trying to, save the world to to ask them questions about how to put your timesheet in. You know what I'm saying? So people are gonna bite your head off about stuff like that. I'm sorry, and it's just like it just is what it is, you know. And if you don't like that, you gotta step up and and like I said, I've been through situations like that before where I didn't want people don't like people all over their back or talking to them a certain way. And, everything got to be with respect, right? And that's important. But tough love and disrespect, they're two different things. You can give somebody straight, you can be a straight shooter and still be respectful, but some people take direct criticism, even if it's constructive, as an insult, and it's not that. Like I just sometimes, like I told y'all, when I was at T Row, and I remember when I first started, and my boss, he just was like, he was very tough, and I was he was abrasive, right? And I said to him one day, I make this keep this short, but just to, I said to him one day, I said, well, Matt, is it possible for you to just tell me everything that you need me to do? you know, every day. Just let me know one time everything that you need me to do so I can tell me what my responsibilities is so I can just do them. That was my way of telling him get off my back because every day he just was on my back, just telling me this and telling me that, and he was in everything. He looked at me in the eyes and he said to me, he said, Antoine, that's what you really want? And I said, yeah. He said, all right, he said, I got it. I'm gonna send you an email. He said, but if you fuck up, you're fired. He said it just like that. He said it just like that. I took on the responsibility, and he said it just like that. Um, and it was just like, so as I was learning stuff like that, I wasn't allowed to go down to the trade desk floor. I wasn't allowed to go down there or be nowhere near that area or nothing. And so some of the other people that I was working with, they would do things, and it was certain things for legal reasons we had to let him know. And they like, well, I'm like, well, we need to probably tell Matt. And he's like, people like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to hear him. I don't want to go through that. Right. And so I'm like, nah, I'm gonna tell Matt. I gotta tell Matt this because now this man, I gave him, he gave me his respect. I mean, and this wasn't even about the whole my responsibilities thing, but it's like if he's telling you the things that need to be done, I'm like, oh, as a grown man, I'm not scared to go talk to another grown man. This is something. This is part of my job. He said that I don't care if he's gonna bitch about it. I'm gonna go talk to him about it. So I go talk to him about some stuff. And then, the next meeting he bring up, he like, oh yeah, well, thanks to Antoine for coming and let me know because we had to do and it's a lot of things that's above our pay grade that we don't know why he's saying these things, right? Um, so in a few months, like I said, like within 6 months, I was on the trade desk, because he trusted me. I was one of the trusted people who, like, if something goes wrong, I already know that Antoine's gonna tell me what's going on. I can trust him. So when I be telling y'all, like, when I take y'all down certain, I'm like, I don't want to put you in this trade with me because y'all see a certain traders, like it'll be KK, Drew, a few other traders, in the chat, and even Strat Ops or whatever. But when he used to be like to get into those risky trades and stuff, I felt comfortable taking them on certain missions with me, and it's because I can trust that if something goes wrong, they're going to speak up and say something. They're not just going to sit there like a deer in headlights and let us all crash and burn. They're going to speak up and say something. I can trust them. A lot of people got egos. So because of their ego, they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to feel like they're getting help. Like these are personal things that are going to bleed off into your trading. Everybody got this emotions and ego and stuff like that. I literally had a whole meeting. Most of this meeting was about a trade that went wrong that I called out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what the meeting was about, pretty much for the most part. So we can figure out ways for it not to happen again. I'm gonna put it on Front Street. People say, you see a lot of these people, a lot of these traders and stuff. They talk about their wins all the time. They say, well, you don't never talk about losses. When I was posting the sports bets, they be like, well, some random person said, you post your wins, but you don't post losses. I'm like, what? I didn't post $1,000, like where I bet $1,000 and it went to zero. You know what I mean? So like I do it all the time. I post like those things. I don't have any shame in that because there are going to be losses in this game, but I just want to you just have to be able to accept that you're not perfect. So when people say you need to be more humble, no, how about you be more humble? How about you have an hour meeting talking about your losses? I can't even get you to talk about a loss or admit a loss. You know what I mean? Or ask for help. So it's just like you got to really get out of your way when it comes to this trading stuff, and it could really push you, further in your career. So if you fail fast, if you're not going to admit that something's going wrong, and then also the more questions that I get from y'all in real time, the more I know what I'm not doing. Or like, for example, like if I've been doing this for so long, sometimes some things are second nature to me. And that's why I like to get KK's perspective sometimes, because hers is more from a new trader perspective. So she still considers herself a new trader, and she's been trading for like 5 years now, 4 years now, right, KK? But she don't do it full time, and she still stays into her realm. Yeah, it's a little different, but I just feel like everybody needs to respect the levels of this, and realize that there are going to be losses, there are going to be things. But let's just say, I don't know, I just feel like the more questions we get, the more it's more data, it's more data points for me to analyze and for me to consider going forward. And a lot of changes that comes out of how I make the trades, and the type of commentary that I give during the life cycle of a trade comes from some of the feedback that I've gotten from the traders. So when we sit on a meeting like this and nobody has questions or commentary at all, there's no issues, not an issue with it, right? Because we're ready to get to these charts and talk about this economic data and talk about Jackson Hole, all of this, right? But I'm just saying these are missions. Jackson Hole is a mission. I remember Jackson Hole 2022. I always talk about that one, and I'm gonna show y'all the chart. But I always talk about that Jackson Hole. I remember it was me, KK, Potato Trader, Peter, and several others. We were on Zoom. This was back when we used to be on Zoom just all day, but we was listening to the whole Jackson Hole speech. And then Powell just chose violence, and the market just died. It just died, and it died for days. So, and this is his final Jackson Hole that we're going into. But I'm saying missions like this they're a little different. Sometimes you don't get what you're looking for. You don't get what you want. And when we're like, for example, during like FOMC and stuff like that, when Powell is speaking during that press conference, I don't talk to nobody, because I want to analyze what Powell is saying, because I really need this data so I can it's gonna help me determine how important the next CPI is going to be. It's going to make me determine how important the PCE data is going to be, or if this jobs report is even going to be a factor in this next, if we're going to get this rate cut or not. So it's different things that he says that I'm looking for that's going to help me. So that's how I be knowing. Like last month, we didn't play CPI, we didn't play PCE data either, and neither of them did anything. You know what I mean? This time, like, this one is an important one. We need to play it. This, I know when retail sales data is going to be a big one. When it's not. Because I pay attention to all of the data points. So it's different things that go into this. So sometimes asking questions are important. Like KK said, she went through she looked at the chat and saw the commentary behind the core weave trade, all of the data that I was given, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm not touching that trade." So, but if it's something that was unclear in there, or something that didn't make sense to you, that was something that I would, to ask questions about. But everybody, they get so offensive about, yeah, I get a little upset sometimes, or irritated, I'll say, when people ask me questions about something that, like, I don't know, just like something about, like, I don't know, it depends on what it is. But and the time that is asked, because if you ask me a question 5 minutes before the market opens, you're going to get a very short response. It's going to come off like I'm being curt, but the market is ready to open, and I don't have the market is about to open. Come on now, I can't answer that question right now, or I'm gonna try to give you something really quick. But just consider the circumstances, but don't let it stop you from asking questions, because at the end of the day, let me tell y'all something. I've been trading professionally for several years now, right? This is my full-time job, and I trade like a business, like KK just said. So I'm not trading with more than 20% of my available cash to trade on any trade. And the reason I tell y'all the same thing, and we talk about this in the options trading Bible, is because if you die, and you will die, you have 4 more lives left. And then now you know, like if you're playing a video game and you die because it was a hole right there, that when you on that second life, you're gonna jump over that hole or go around it this time, right? You're not gonna do the same thing, right? So, we always come back crazy after a bad trade or a loss or something like that. But also there's a lot of commentary that comes out pre-market every single day, messages that come out that I have automatically scheduled to come out to post. So everybody knows some of these rules and that in place. And I don't think so. I just want y'all to still take advantage of those things, because there's certain things that I expect for you to already know too. And so this is going to be a volatile week, I believe. And we got a lot of stuff. And I still want to be able to take chances with y'all and stuff like that. But, on a trade like that, though, like I said, there are things that I would do different again. So, but on the flip side, I still would have wanted y'all to take advantage of that move had it happened, right? And I didn't have to be around for, like, if it would have gapped up like or gapped down the way I was anticipating it to do, then it would have been a pretty lucrative trade, and you guys wouldn't have needed me around to be profitable. So yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody is locked in, and we're gonna keep things moving. And like I said, we got a big week ahead of us, and let's just go right into the data, man. So we got Bowman speaking on for Fed speakers. We got Bowman Tuesday at 2:10 p.m. Then we got Waller at 11 a.m. Now, again, I know we focus a lot on the economic data a lot more, but we don't be really. Sometimes the market will just drop sometimes, or you just get these crazy moves in the market and you don't know why. It's because certain Fed speakers that rock the market are speaking. And so we got Waller on the tape again. Waller was on the tape last week. We got Waller on the tape. Waller is one of those people that can move the market. He's speaking Wednesday at 11 a.m. So, this is after Power Hour. We got Bostic speaking on Wednesday at 3 p.m. at Power Hour. Bostic is somebody that moves the market a lot. He's the Atlanta Fed. And like I told y'all, he's been lately, as of the last 2 years, Bostic has been very vocal, but in a different way. He used to, like, he used to be different. He's not that way anymore. And then we got Bostic again, 7:30, this pre-market. But then we got Fed Chair Powell Friday for his Jackson Hole speech. So again, it's a lot going on, but just keep an eye on the Fed speakers as well, not just the economic data. Here we go. We have building permits Tuesday, housing starts Tuesday. We got the FOMC minutes from the previous FOMC meeting. So I always got to say this because people see FOMC and they just immediately think it's a meeting. But these are the minutes from the previous 2-day meeting that the Fed had with the Federal Reserve governors and presidents, right? So the minutes come out, and it's a lot of sound bites that come from that minute, the minutes, and we see a lot of commentary that comes out of that we don't, because again, the Powell comes out from the meeting and goes to the podium, gives the Fed decision, and then he speaks for a moment, and then he takes questions, right? But there's a lot that happens in that meeting that we don't get to see, and so whoever keeps the minutes of that meeting, they're recording that stuff, and then they release this information, and it's a lot of, then the algos start going crazy when the data is released. So just sometimes it's bullish, sometimes it's bearish, and you see the market just come down. So just pay attention to it when you get those minutes that comes out, because they normally release at 2 p.m. We got jobless claims. We got Philly Fed Manufacturing Index Thursday. We got Services PMI Thursday, Manufacturing PMI Thursday, and existing home sales Thursday. Damn, a lot of data coming out Thursday. So yeah, so that's what we have going on for that. Let's just go over and get into some trades, some charts. Hold on, let me just switch over. There we go. All right. So since I have this chart up, I'm just going to start with it. SPY. SPY. right, let me get this off of here because that broke down. That's broken. SPY did that. Let me see what that candle did. I think it did. Took out. No, it did not. So that was a 222 reversal, and it's not enforced, but it that's what it finished as. I like how SPY came down here and retested this support. So we closed above the support and everything. That looks pretty good for possible continuation. But if it bounces off of this, I mean, which is what I'm expecting. I think the market may bounce. The way it finished, it finished a little. On Friday, everything looked a little bearish. But they didn't even take out Thursday's low for it to be so bearish at the end of the day. So why didn't they take out Thursday's low? Why didn't they break the structure? I mean, they could have just broke the support that this is a new support that they just started and it's holding up pretty well, right? For now, it's holding up pretty well. That look a little bullish, both bullish flaggish if you zoom in a little bit. And this is how the weekly did. So, it went up, it came back down, still closed substantially with a substantial amount of his gains. It looks pretty good to me right now, right? For SPY. So what I would you can play this a few ways. Look for the bounce, like it looked like it bounced here, so you can play it off the bounce if it holds these, because you may get a pullback. You get a pullback as long as it holds this support, that'll be good. So what I'll say is for if you're looking to play the downside on this, if we lose that 642.52, look for a move down to 639.50. And then we got 637.39, and it could possibly go even lower, but that would be a good place to bounce if it was to pull back. Now, to the upside, like I said, you can play it off the bounce here, off of the support level, or you wait for it to clear that 646.09, and then it'll be at new all-time highs again. So after 646.49, you can play that up to like 648, then possibly even higher up to the well, actually, I wouldn't touch it unless it clears the 646.19. So let it take out that all-time high, and then you can play that up to 648 and possibly to 650 if it goes there, right? So and it'll be off of momentum, and you'll be looking for a setup on a lower time frame. You know how I feel about all-time highs, but lately these stocks been just taking out the all-time highs, so you got to consider them. I'm gonna go right into Goldman Sachs because this was a big trade last week and it played out to perfection. Yeah, this was I forgot I had this on the chart, but yeah, this was the trade that I posted this in the group, but I had posted it on Twitter too, on X also, um for but this was in a community because I put it in for the team first. But you can see this is where it was when I alerted this trade. It was inside, right? It was here. It broke out. This was the breakout right here the next day. It broke out and it ran. It took out this came. It was a pretty big trade. It was a pretty big trade. And it hit those levels, took it out. So right now, this is what Goldman is doing right now. We talked about this on stream on Friday afternoon. I mean, it came back but initially what I was hoping, I'm like, oh, if Goldman was to come back down, because it hadn't dropped back down here yet, I'm like, if it comes back down and it retests this support, that's a good thing. And we can probably play it off the bounce, but it broke the structure, came back down here, closed under the 9 EMA. I mean, it's holding right here, but I think that it has some more downside at this point. So I'm looking for. I mean, it has some downside. I mean, we could get a bounce. We'll see what the market does. But if it was to lose, because I don't care. It doesn't matter what I think. We're going to follow what the market gives us. So it looks like it wants to come down. We got a what is that? A 2-1-3 bearish engulfing, right? So it's outside. And like I said, we broke the structure there and then and lost the 9 EMA with volume that was pretty intense. Let's look the same people whoever it was, right, that made this. Institutions make these candles. We can't make these candles, right? That took it up. They probably the same people that sold it down, right? So they induce the sell off. But look, so we don't, it doesn't matter what we think this is going to do. We're going to wait. If it takes out that 629.18, then we looking for a move down to what I say, the 629.18. We're going to look for a move to the first target would be the 624.05. And then the next target after there would be, or we have a gap fill down there that it could possibly fill at what is that at 622.20. Then we got 616.34. So we got a few levels. It may make a big move to the downside possibly, but it could hold up. Now let me zoom out a little bit because it's a lot going on in this daily chart. Yeah, it's still pretty bullish though. Still pretty bullish when you look at the weekly chart, right? So sometimes you got to zoom out when it's a whole lot of noise. So it could be this is a nice place where the pullback took place or whatever, and yeah, so it's a lot but yeah, it's we can see we actually see what happened. When you look at it, you see like this was a pretty bullish week. Although we got that pullback, right? Still looks pretty good on a weekly chart, right? And I was telling we talked about this on Friday. I was telling the team, I said even if it hold on one second. My bad. Thanks for holding 1 second. So yeah, but when you look at it, we were talking about this on Friday. You still look what we got here. We got a what is that? A 21212 up here on the weekly, and this was the highest close that it's ever had on the weekly. So when you zoom out, you still got a bullish chart, right? So you got a pullback, but you still got a bullish chart. So we got to still look at this as still being bullish when you zoom out, and that's important. So just wanted to point that out because we got the daily. So it can come back down here because you see I got this as still a bigger level. It can come back down here and it could bounce right here. This would be actually a solid place for it to bounce. So if it does take out that low and come down here, I would watch this level more carefully than anything. But you see how that analysis it made me come reconsider that analysis by looking at the weekly chart. Because when in doubt, you zoom out. There's a lot going on here, so the weekly chart made things even more, made a lot clearer to look at. So yeah, but still keep Goldman on watch. Yeah, Goldman. Go to hit Meta. Go ahead and hit Meta. I gotta excuse my Meta chart. This was another one we covered last Friday too, right? And I mean, last week also, and Meta broke out, and this was a pretty big trade too. This was another one. And look at this. So this is what Meta did, and Meta does this a lot. Meta came up, hit new all time highs, hit new all time highs again, pulled back, gapped up, hit new all time highs again, but then came all the way back down here and closed at this level. So we were on stream before I alerted Meta last week. We got on stream right before we were on stream like earlier in the afternoon, and well later in the afternoon we were talking about Meta and Meta holding this support level right here. Came back down and they were trying to pull it down, but Meta found a way and it closed right here above the support level. So I'm looking for a bounce off of this for Meta for a continuation higher. So if you're looking to trade Meta, what I would do is like give you both sides of this. You can play it off the bounce. If you get a nice bounce off of this, you can play it to the upside off the bounce here, back up to the all-time high because Meta is given 800, right? So, but if it was to lose that 780.82, I'm looking for a move down to 778.12, then 774.78, and so on. But yeah, so but keep this one on watch though. Meta look like it wants to go higher. It's another situation. You see how it pulled back and it pulled back, but it's holding. This is the highest close ever on the weekly, looking pretty good. Nice retest on that one. So yeah, keep Meta on watch though. But it can make some nice moves. I like the volume on that too. Walmart. Here we go with Walmart. So Walmart pulled back from his all-time highs and it's trying to get back up there to his all-time highs. You see, we've got this gap down here after hitting all-time highs, gap down, and it's been having trouble with this area here. And then it finally broke through, went up here to this resistance and gap back down, but it's sitting right here at the support level. So this could be a good trade for Walmart. So what I would do for this one, because a few things that this could do, I'll say over 100, and so you could play this a few ways. Like I said, I like when the stock it comes back down and retests support, right? So the same thing kind of what Meta did, right? And how SPY was looking, but this one is just it's a cleaner situation. You can play it off the bounce here if it actually bounces, right? And you can play it that way, or you can just wait for it to clear that 100 the 100.17. So 100.77 actually is 100.77. Clear that. First target on this one would be the actually no, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it until it clears. Yeah, no, that's the first one. That's cool. Yeah, 100.77. So $100.77, right? It clears that. My bad. It sounds like I just can't like I just having a hard time getting my breathing together. Hold up a second. But yeah, so it clears that. Then the first target would be that up there at the 90 MA, which is at 101, 101. The second target, because this Walmart, it's not really a big mover, but it has its times where it could break out and give you a move, right? And so that would be my first target. My second target would be because then we got a gap fill area up there. But my second target would be up here at this up at 101.93. Then we got the gap fill here. That gap fill is at what is that 103.38. So you can use that because sometimes what Walmart does, it plays choppy. So you got to be careful with Walmart. I would like to trade it when it has volume because you just don't want to get caught up in the chop in Walmart. Sometimes it just chops around and it's not really a big mover. So, but me personally on a trade like this, once it gets over, once it gets back over the up here, we can probably get a nice move on Walmart, but we'll just have to see what happens with it. To the downside on this one, after it under 99.54, my first target would be, now I'm gonna say, yeah, under 99.54, my first target would be 98. Then we got 96.59 and so on. We got levels marked on the chart. So yeah, just I would keep this one on watch. Here's the weekly on this one. So you can see how it went up here. It looked like it wants to get back up to the all-time high again. I think it did actually hit new all-time highs last week. So what is that? Yeah, the 104, 104. No, that wasn't it. It was here. The all-time high is over here. It was back in February. So it got close to it, but it didn't take out the all-time high. So it's playing around up in here. You see, so this is you can clearly see this area where it retested, and I think it'll be a nice area for it to bounce off of. So we'll see what happens though, because it's still the momentum is still to the upside. The volume was lower for this last week to the downside.
Yeah, I actually got in the IV trade that you called out last week on Friday.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you told me what we talked about on yeah, yeah, the stuff that we talked about on stream. Yeah. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mention it because I didn't want to explain it, so that's why I didn't bring it up to everybody. Because but we had some good commentary on Friday about it. If you guys were on the stream, we had some good commentary about another way to trade, to trade Walmart, and it was a pretty interesting conversation. Good feedback and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty good. Let me go ahead and bring this other chart up. One sec. Q Q Q Q Q Q. Here we go. Yeah, Q Q Q. I like this. I like the way we got a. It was a lot of volume to the downside, a lot of bearish volume that came in on this, but I thought it held up significantly on here. So with the volume being higher, I would have thought that it would have gone lower. Almost came down here to retest support, and it held up pretty well. So we'll see what it actually does from here. So I'll say under under 577.34. I'm looking for a retest of five. What I say under 577 575. Yeah, so under 570, under 575.57. Sorry, under 575.57. My first target would be that 574.65. Then we got, now if we lose that 9 EMA, then we'll probably make a move down to 568. Now, for the upside, if we clear 579.84, I'm looking for a retest of the all-time high of 583.32. So with volume, we look for setups around here. So yeah, one second. Now I do see the chat going off, but I can't look at the chat. The only way I'm taking questions is if y'all unmuting and talking, because I have to. So I don't ever open the chat on Zoom, man. So
Okay.
if yeah,
Hello? Hey, Anton.
hey, what's
I
up?
just said, once you're done with all the charts you have planned, if you could take a look at NVO.
I'll take a look at it now. I'll take a look at it now. What's up, James? Shout out to you, man, because you killed that Lily trade last week.
I just thought the chart kind of looked interesting. I hopped in 70 calls that expire in like September yesterday at open. So I was just wondering how the chart kind of looked to you. I thought it looked pretty interesting how it broke out after earnings again.
Yeah, it looks
And
great. I think it looks good. It looks like it's trying to get up into this gap fill. Well, the first gap fill, well, the second gap fill. It already got through the others. And hold on. So yeah, it looks good. I like that reversal. It reclaimed the 9 EMA and it's gaining some momentum. We got yeah, it's gaining some momentum. It looks good. I think it looks great actually. And it looked like it definitely would look like it wants to go higher. Yeah, this is look like a pretty good setup here for a chart for a continuation, especially after that big drop that it had for on earnings. So they're trying to reclaim some ground on this one. I think it looks good. I think it looks good. I think this can definitely go a lot higher. We got this huge gap fill that it has to fill. It's a lot of room left for this thing to move. I like the chart. I like it a lot. I think you can definitely get some more room, a lot more room out of this one.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, no, it's a good one. I'm just marking up the chart. Thank you for bringing it up, bringing it to our attention. Just marking it up a little bit. Yeah, so on this one, so if somebody looking to trade it, over the get trying to bring it up here so it can be clear for everybody. Yeah, I mean, I'm still doing some, as you start moving the chart around, you start seeing other things. So just like lining the chart up and yeah, no, so I'm just looking at it. I mean, it looks good, looks pretty good. This one looks pretty good. So, yeah, I would say that over that 52.75, that first target would be up there. Like I didn't market that, where the gap fill would be that first target here. It's around that 53.77 area and so on. If it was to lose that 51.37, then you can play it down to that 49.44 and even lower. It's a chop situation around here, but it's finally starting to make a move, and it's been consistently over the last 4 days. It's made strides to the upside, so I think it looks pretty good here. I think it looks good. So yeah, that was a good find, James. See, go ahead and put Tesla up here. Yeah, Tesla is interesting. Let me get this out of here, man, because this is already just too much going on in this chart now. But when you trade something a lot, you got a lot of a lot of levels and stuff on it. It's easy to. But yeah, Tesla, man, this one was it went up. It got up here. It rejected. It broke a few levels, then it got rejected up there, came back down, finished with a bearish engulfing here. What is that? Yeah, that's a bearish engulf and a bearish engulf. But I was just looking to see if, yeah, 2-2 continuation to the downside. It reclaimed the 9 EMA, closed right there. So we'll see how this plays out. But it looked like it was trying to go lower. But again, we'll just have to see what happens. I'll say under 327. Look for a move to my first target would be 325.15, and then we got 320. My next target would be that 320 and so on. Now, if we were to get back over that 339.30, then we got 341.94 as my first target, and it could possibly go higher. Here's the weekly chart on Tesla right now. So we got a inverse hammer after rejecting up here. The last few times it tried to get up there, got rejected. So we'll just see what happens. And it's increasing volume, higher volume on the weekly also. So we'll just see how this plays out. We're going to follow the price action, but keep Tesla on watch. It's been trying, but it hasn't really been making any move. Hit this core weave chart, and because this chart looks interesting. Now you see where stock finished here. It's finished right. This was Friday's price action right here. It stayed in this tight range. It did not do anything. They pinned the price where they pinned it on Friday. It opened at 95.90, and the highest it went was 102. But for most of the day, it stayed in this range. So look, it opened at 95.90. It closed at 97. I'm sorry, 99.97. So they were trying to hold it under 100, so it's a possibility. And look at the volume on this. So high volume to the selling, right, to the downside, but then we had higher volume here. It just was a lot of buying a lot of um, volume that was going into this, where the Bulls ultimately won, but they couldn't reclaim that 100. So we'll see exactly what happens. This thing could make some moves, a lot more moves to the downside, but it could also bounce. I'm thinking it probably bounces and makes some higher moves for this one, because it just seemed to be, I'm not going to say oversold, but look at it. Just look at it. Just look at it, and it just looks like it's a lot going on with it now, and I just don't think that we're gonna. But again, it doesn't matter what I think. We're gonna follow what the price action provides here with the stock, and so here, I'll say if we were to fall under that, we get back under that 94.70. My first target would be at 89.36, then we got 86.70, and then possibly lower. But if you know, you gotta be careful with this one though. So, but over that 102, because the IV for some reason is still they still pricing in a big move on this one, so it's still gonna be it's still overly priced. But you got a new week, and I believe it's gonna make a move this week, right? So over that 102, first target would be, well, yeah, over the 102 first target, that at 102.97 we got 108.23, and then we got a gap fill area. We got another gap fill, and then we got the target 119 8 65, and then we got the 50. So yeah, but this thing can really make a big move, so we'll see what happens. I think this was pretty good that the Bulls were able to fight and hold this up around here. So let's just see what happens with it. Here's the weekly on it. So, just came down here, finished with a bearish engulfing, a lot of volume in there on the week. It's been coming down, but, it's been holding around this area. But, we lost that level. We'll just see what happens. We'll see what they want to do, if they're going to sell it or not, because they could have just been holding out, the market makers and everybody just holding out for wherever they wanted to go, so they can clap those options. I told you they pin the price on OPEX Fridays because they don't want to pay out them premiums for the they want to cause max pain on those strikes that has the most open interest and volume, and open interest.
Yeah,
Second.
yeah, Antoine, have you looked at Circle? I know it's a similar stock with recent IPO, and they've opened up like 10 million, I think, shares for sale, because I think that pumped on Friday.
Yeah, you said that they who did it? Who was it?
Circle?
Okay, yeah, Circle. Okay. Take a look at Circle. Circle. Here we go. Yeah, Circle is another one of those stocks that new stocks or whatever. It finished inside Friday. And let me just mark this up real quick. Yeah, so Circle, this is I like this. I like when I like a nice inside candle on a stock with some good volume in it. So for this one, just looking at this alone, I just it could possibly be a good trade if it on a breakout. So over that at 151.47, we got the 90 MA. It looked like it's been rejecting that the last few times, but that would be my first target. So over the over 151.47. Right now, the 90 MA is up there at 156.62. That would be my first target. The second one would be that 163.80, and so on. If it loses that 139.25, we got 133.23. And then we got a nice move down on this one where it could possibly go even lower down here to closer to 104. So yeah, I would keep it on watch. It finished inside, so that neutralizes the move. So all of this the downside action it's been having, that neutralizing candle can cause a reversal. So and some good volume came in there on Friday too. So yeah, keep it on watch. Cool. Right. Second. I want to go ahead and I gotta get through these for a second. Microsoft. I like the way Microsoft been holding this support. It's been holding up pretty well here. Now, it ran up, hit the all-time highs from earnings, but this can be looked at in so many ways, man. Just gonna tell you what I'm seeing here. It's a lot that's going on with Microsoft now. But if you're just looking at the chart alone, right, you can see a bear flag that's forming here, right? You can see that it's looking a little bear flaggish. It just lost the 90 in May again. It's been having trouble with it. Got back up, reclaim it. So, but it's been holding this area right here. So, eventually it breaks through. And if it does, we got a nice downside that we can see on this one after all of the moves that it's been making, right? So, but I also look at this as like, okay, it's been holding support. It's coming down here and it's just been holding up. So let's just we'll keep Microsoft on watch. It has a lot of bear volume that came into it, but let me look at the weekly first. Show y'all this. Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, it's been going up. Damn, I didn't realize how hard Microsoft's been moving. Well, I mean, I guess most of the Mac 7 look like this, right? But that was a big move that quietly it's been making after, from the last earnings, then this earnings, it's just been really going up, right? And yeah, so but we got some we got time frame continuity on both sides. We got an inverse hammer on the weekly with increasing bear volume. But when you zoom out like this, because I zoomed that out to the weekly, this kind of look, it almost looked like a bull flag, right? But when you just look at this, the flagpole here, and it's definitely a bear flag that's forming. So yeah, under 519.08, I would be looking for a first target would be that 517.62, then 512.19, because it'll likely retest that 50 EMA, but it probably wouldn't happen in one day. To the upside, if we clear 526.10, my first target would be if we clear 526.10, my first target is going to be we're gonna look for a move. We got I said 526. So let's just say if we clear 520.26.45, my first target would be 529.08. Then we got 536.32. Yeah. So keep it on watch. App loving, app loving, app loving, app loving, app loving. Second. So app loving is trying to get back up here to these all-time highs, and instead of selling off on Friday, we got a retest down here. We got a retest, and instead of selling off, it went up and rejected off of resistance again, like it did on Friday, but it reclaimed its after it never closed under the 9, so I'm not going to say reclaim, but it dropped down there, significantly, and the bulls were able to drag it back up and reclaim the 9 EMA and close above it. So we'll see exactly what AppLovin does. This stock makes big moves when it breaks out, and we got a gap fill right here. So let me do that over. Yeah, it's better. It's better. Right. So what I would say for app loving over 441.50, we still got that 446, 443.68. Then we got 446.89, a gap fill, and then the next target would be 457.73, and so on. But this would be a good one if we get right now, if we get a reversal here, that would be a 222 reversal, and with some volume, be a pretty big move. I believe it can make with some good volume that come into it. If we get that reversal, close the gap and make a move higher. Now, if we lose that 421.40, then my first target on this one would be 414.84, and so on. You see, it has a long way down, so it's holding on up there. It's trying to hold on, but it'll be a long way down if we don't get that reversal with some volume on it. And because yeah, just look at how it's look at the chart. Look at how hard it ran up the day after earnings, and now it's sitting there. It's trying to get back up there on the resistance, but um it's not allowing itself to make that move. It's just holding it's holding on right here. It's holding on tightly. But if we were able to get to if it does break down, it got a long way down to go. That'll be a nice move. But look like it's trying to hold on, and they're fighting there. And you got to look at it from this perspective too. If it wanted to come down. Friday was a good day for it to come down. It was a good day for it to come down. Now here is, let's go to Google for a second, man, because look, let me zoom out because this chart, it's a lot going on this chart. So the all-time high on Google is, it was up in here in February, and it went up here and it tested it. Where was it? The high, 106.44. The all-time high is 106.56. So it's almost there again. And it's been quietly making moves. Google moves slowly, but it's been moving. It looked like it wants to take out the all-time high and make some moves. So this is one that we probably should keep an eye on also. Like I said, the options, they move a little slower, but it's been making a lot of moves lately. It's been making some big moves. So I would keep this one on watch because, yeah, just keep it on watch. So right here, I'll say over the over over 206.56, because now we're heading into that territory. Over 206.56, my target on this one would be, well, the first target would be 207, 207.5, and then we got 210. Now, if we were to lose, and again, those are new, they would be new all-time highs. So we're in price discovery if we take out that 206.56. Now, under 197.51, my first target on this one would be 195.22, then 193.19, and so on. So you just keep this one on watch. Keep Google on watch. And I gotta take a look at the VIX because it showed up on my list, and I just wanted to take a look at it really quickly before I gotta see what the fear gauge is going, what the fear gauge got going on. Chart here. Yeah. But yeah, it's still relatively low. Fear in the market is still relatively low. Just looking at it, seeing what's up with it, because we haven't really had too many moves on the VIX in a while. It's time. It's time for the VIX. Now I wonder if it's gonna be Powell at Jackson Hole or something else. But we'll see exactly what it is. But right now, the VIX has just been chilling. The VIX has been chilling. But yeah, it's been chilling. It's been chilling. And yeah, it's about time for the VIX to do something, to make some noise. You see, it made some noise here a few weeks ago, broke out, made a nice move. Now it's about time for the VIX to break out and do something else, man. The VIX move, like sometimes you get, every now and then you get the VIX and the market going up at the same time. But the VIX pretty much it's like almost like an inverse to SPY in a lot of ways, because it measures fear in the market. And when the market is coming down, the VIX is going up because now it's fear going in the market. But sometimes you get some early signals where the VIX is going up and the market is going up. And it's like, what's going on? Somebody knows something, right? But yeah, so let's keep an eye on the VIX and see what's going on, because it's about time the VIX make a move. Now, I did want to just hit Jackson Hole for a second. I just want to hit Jackson Hole for a second. So let's just go ahead and go back over to SPY just really quickly. Because, Jackson Hole was Friday, and I just want to make sure that we're on point with, what's going on in the market, especially with Powell and what's going on with this Jackson Hole speech. So it's in it why we have this where is it? Hold on. Trying to bring up the thing. Yeah, no yes. Yeah, here we go. I'm trying to get back to August of. Just want to show y'all the big move on. I mean, 'cause sometimes, like I said, it's not always a volatile situation. Not always. I just feel like this one could possibly be a big thing. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see, right? Yeah, I got it marked up. Here it is. Here it is right now, right here. So this was that big Jackson Hole move right here that from one of Powell's speeches when he got up there and caused the whole market to come down. It came back up, retested, and this is a daily chart. So each candle represents one day, a full day of price action. And this was when we ended up losing the 200 EMA, lost the 50, and just it was a big move down. Came back up, retested, and just kept dying. Right, it was a pretty big. It induced a big sell off and for the rest of the month, right? And then the following month. But yeah, so this it could be. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen now. We're going to have to see where direction Powell goes with it. But we know he's going to talk about monetary policy. He's going to go in there and he's going to talk about it's going to be a whole lot of people there, a whole lot of influential um, central bankers, and it's going to be a whole lot of important people there. And Powell he's speaking at 10 a.m. and like right, it's a big. I'm just looking at it from a different perspective now because Powell used to be the most powerful man in the world, and then Trump came back, and he's like, nah, not now. So he's been taking Powell's power and just mentioning that every day they're talking about. Scott Bessent already interviewing people, meeting with people that he thinks should be the next Fed chair. He said he didn't want to be the next Fed chair. Trump was like he wanted him to be the next Fed chair, and so it's like just Powell is still Powell until May of next year, but it's like you got to look at it things from a Trump and just really trying to take the man's power away from him and just like the way he's been doing it, going about it. He's like, how Trump is though. Trump like I'm the most powerful man in the world, not you. So I wonder what Powell is going to say at this Jackson Hole speech about the economy, about monetary policy. I'm very curious at what he's going to do and the direction he's going to take this market that's already at all-time highs right now. Do you think he's going to hold back? This is like this speech going to be part of his legacy, and he could do whatever he want to do with the market at this point. Now, again, like I said, I'm not sure because we got Jackson Hole, and then we got a Fed decision next month, and the reason the market started going up last week is because they're pricing in a 50 basis point rate cut. I'm like, really? You think we're gonna get? First of all, we're not even sure that Powell's gonna cut rates. You know what I mean? We're not sure, but when the CPI print came out and it was cooler than expected, they're like, we can get a rate cut now. But 50 basis points, man, I don't know about 50. Maybe 25 basis points. Maybe we may not even get any, but we're going to hear some stuff that Powell has to say at Jackson Hole on Friday. He's going to speak for a while. I don't know if it's going to be like a 15-minute, 30-minute speech, but I know, like I said, it's going to be a lot. But this is the final Jackson Hole speech that Powell's going to give before his term is up next year, right? So I don't know. I don't know what Powell's going to do, but I think it can be market moving at all-time highs right now. And again, there are other things that could happen this week that can bring the market down, but the market look like it wants to keep going up right now. So we'll just have to see what happens. But this is going to be a big deal Friday at 10 a.m. Right? So it's not like it's overnight where we gotta, Powell's gonna speak at 10 o'clock. I just wonder what he's gonna say and if he's gonna care to whether he rattles shakes the table or not. And it's a lot. It's a lot, but we will see. We will see. I'm just looking forward to it, and I wonder if he's gonna be himself, the normal Powell, and he's gonna tell the truth about what he thinks about the economy and the direction, and everything that's going on. The labor market in transition, all of this. Like so, it's just a lot of it's a lot. It's a lot. So we're going. It's a whole lot, and I'm looking forward to it. So it can and it will. I believe it will be market moving. So let's just say that I believe it will be market moving. He about to light. I want to see fireworks in Wyoming on Friday. That's what I want. So we're gonna wait and see what happens. But like we got a rising wedge right here on the daily on SPY, and we got Jackson Hole incoming. Looming. This is a nice pattern where the market was, so we can probably get some movement up right here. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. And because rising wedge is a bearish pattern, but how we don't know when it breaks down though. Like it could keep going up. I mean, the market's been going up for a while, right? But we get these breaks. So here we go, right here. Like you got to look at the structure, market structure, right? We had a bullish flag. The bullish flag broke out and went higher, right? This was the flag that we broke out of. Market went higher, created another rising wedge right here channel that got broken. And you see what happened. Came down hard. Now we got another rising wedge right here. So, we'll have to see exactly what happens and go from there. But right now it hasn't broken down yet, but it could. So that's what happens with these patterns. Sometimes it depends on what's going on, what happens, and a lot of times you see some setups and you'll be like something strange will go on with a setup and you don't know what caused it. It be economic data or maybe a Fed speaker or something in the market, that some news or something that came out that broke it down. But in this situation, we just got this markets hitting all-time highs and they just keep hitting new all-time highs. So yeah, that's what we have, and we got a big data point coming up, and with Powell, and we'll just have to see what happens. But I just want everybody to keep their heads on a swivel that we are anticipating fireworks at Jackson Hole on Friday. Now, like I said, if something happens before then that causes the market to come down, that doesn't mean that it couldn't come down more. But Powell could send it up. You don't know what's going to happen at Jackson Hole on Friday. So it can be whatever happens, um, it could it could just change things. Because remember, we already pricing in. Remember, like I told you already, the market went up all week. The whole after the what was it? After CPI, the market just started going up. It was like melting up, and I feel like it was because now they felt like, oh, now the bond market was pricing in um, rate cuts in September. So Powell can say something on Friday that kind of signals like a hawkish pause or a hawkish something. It could be a hawkish cut, but a cut is a cut, right? We want a cut if that's what everybody want, rate cuts. Trump would be very happy with a rate cut. That's what Trump wants. And but if Powell says something that signals that that's not the direction that they're going, because he always says based on the totality of the data, then the market's going to come down because it already priced in rate cuts next month. And literally it priced in rate cuts for next month. So we got to really, I'm looking for a big move on Friday, but I feel like we'll have a bigger move if Powell signals that, it's something that comes out where he's hawkish and he's not even considering a rate cut based off the commentary or whatever, then I think the market comes down hard. But like if it sounds like he's leaning towards that, and again he's going to be clear, but and we're going to get a lot out of this meeting. I mean out of his speech, my bad, and but if we don't, we got to see where the market is going to be on Friday. Everything I'm giving you right now is if Jackson Hole was tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because if we got some room to the upside, we got some room to the downside. So we'll just have to wait and see. But it's a big deal. I'm making a big deal out of it. So yeah, it's a big deal. But yeah, that's all I have for now. I know we went over, but I wanted to make sure that I took some time out to really just to cover what was going on, and like what was the shit, sorry, what was the verdict on so KK. So yeah, I wanted to just circle back really quickly. So what was the verdict on what to do with that core weave trade? Yeah, I mean, you points were made. Points were made. Some really good points were made, and yeah, I agree. I agree with what you said as far as eating the trade. But that's what I was considering doing. Like I said, I wanted to break. I wanted to talk to you about it, and I still don't like. I feel like as a leader, me personally, as a leader. Um, yeah, I gave a whole lot of information, but I just still feel like you got to understand, like I just feel real protective of the team as a whole. So a lot of things I do would come off like, damn, why he being so why he's in everything, why he always gotta, preach about these things or whatever. But then it's like, because no, I'm like, it's a lot of people in this community. Everybody aren't, and I want y'all to just understand this too. Like everybody's not coming to our meetings. Everybody's not doing the things that they're supposed to do. And I care about the little people too. And and so and there are a lot of times where I leave y'all out of stuff. I leave y'all out of stuff and it be like the biggest moves. Like I'll tell you like this. So there are times where I take risk in the market and that they're YOLOs and stuff like that. But yeah, I've taken some risk where I've lost, the entire investment, right? But the times where I win outweigh the times that I lose or whatever. And
Absolutely.
so yeah, so it's like I could do that, but there are people who come in that they aren't gonna listen. And so it's just like, it's just like I always say like, oh, just because we got signs that say do not look both ways before you cross the street, you know what I mean? If a kid runs out in the street and get hit, you still gonna feel bad. You know what I'm saying? So you're still gonna feel bad. Like, damn, I could have done more to stop them from getting clapped in the market, right? So, yeah, yeah, that's the reason why I came up that way. I'm like, damn. So if if I'm not going to be around or something like that, then it'd be hard like to say, well, like let me leave the team, let me leave the team out of this trade or just not even alert this trade. But we do just have to be considerate of the fact of like on a Lotto Friday that we do have rules that are in place for Lotto Friday, for any day, but specifically Lotto Friday that, you're just sitting around but my thing is, like, yeah. So I just hate the fact that I wasn't around. That's all.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's fine. That's how you should feel. It's still, but like I said, it's still a business. This is a business, is what you're gonna put into it though. So like when you go to work and you have the overachievers at work and you have the underachievers. The overachievers are gonna get a raise, right? They're gonna get more money because they're doing all of the things they're supposed to do. And the people who underachieve might not get that raise. They might get the little raise, the little living wage raise, but they're not going to get that other money. So it's like they still have to be held responsible. Like it may be young people in here, but I'm assuming most people in this group are adults or close to adult age where they have to start taking responsibility for themselves. You cannot hold their hand every time. And like Peter, shout out Peter, because you cut the Microsoft trade, right? But he has done his due diligence to stay in the trade and made a substantial profit because he's following what he's been taught. So that's more what I'm looking at as opposed to, oh, well, I can't, I should have did this because these people did that. Like, nah, you can't do that every time.
No, I get you. And then the fact that he did take the time to hop on the live stream that day. And, so although I cut the trade to
Exactly.
the whole team, the people who attended the live stream, they get my additional commentary. I'm like, oh, because like we literally sat on the stream and we agonized. Well, I know I did for a little while. It was a meta trade last week that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go, like, it was power hour was over and I'm like, I'm ready to go eat. I haven't eaten anything yet. And we were on stream for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. And I'm like, I'm ready to go eat. I said, but before I leave, I'm gonna get them out this meta trade. We weren't at a loss. It wasn't at a loss. It wasn't a loss at nothing. It was holding support. It was ready to make a move. And but it slowed down. And I'm like, I'm not gonna leave the team in this trade and I'm walking away. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get them out this trade at break even. But then I said, you know what? And then Roman was just like, why don't you just do this? He kept me on the stream for a while. I said, you know what? I'm gonna get them a little bit of money first. So I waited for it to break out. It got to like over $100 and something profit really quickly. Then I told them to get out of the trade, but it's like, but it's just the thought that I literally, with all of the rules in place and everything, I kind of like, I be having to, agonize over those type of things to make sure that the team as a whole who aren't reading the instructions, or even if I put commentary before a trade, they alert bots, they see an alert and they just look at that. So I still want to protect them too because, you know, um, but yeah, just I would tell people like when I do get on a stream, like think about it. I don't stream every day, but now you got, but there's a balance. I get on a stream for a lot more things that I would normally not get on for. If like I'm like, you know what, I mean just go ahead and just talk to the team about this, or I'm planning on something. Let me just go in here and talk about this. But you know, if but those are we have the last few streams we've been having some great they've been going great because it's not just me on there teaching or something like that. I'm on there like brainstorming with the with other traders, and we're sharing ideas, and people are, you know, bringing things to my attention that I wasn't even looking at, you know, and because I'm, you know, I'm gonna play the same trades over and over again. Every now and then I'll trade something at, you know, after earnings because, you know, it's a lot of volatility, and we can probably get a move. But for the most part, I'm sticking to the same trades that I'm used to trading because that's where the money is. Or why, if it ain't broke, I ain't trying to do nothing different. But yeah, so attending those streams, attending those streams, you're going to get a lot more than you would get in the chat because it's too much to type. And, you know, we're on the stream, and it's a lot of ideas that we go over and different trades that get discussed that never hit the chat. Like AK just said about the Walmart trade that we were talking about on Friday. And the IV move to be specific. But you know, you got sometimes people just feel like they don't want to come. They think, oh, because I said we was gonna get on there and talk about the core weave trade. You know, I guess they, you know, they are probably already sold it or whatever the situation is. But we got on there and we talked about several trades. You know, they knew about the meta trade before I alerted the trade because we talked about it. So it was just there's a lot of things that come out of that. And Peter knew that I'm like, man, I'm bullish as hell on Microsoft. And like he said at the last meeting, I said it was the chart, one of the trades of the week. So all of those things considered, you gotta but yeah, but a lot of people they take a loss or they whatever and they won't show up to those show up in. But yeah, yeah, I just want to make sure that I am considering everybody, but we do got to, like you said, it is a business and we have to hold it as such or whatever. So I'm a I'm gonna eat I'm at least eat the call side, you know. So I'm gonna wipe that out completely just because. But and plus I also because that'll make me make sure that um y'all just gotta understand y'all gonna miss out on certain things. Y'all gonna miss out on certain things. There are certain types of trades I'm like, nah, because last time I had to eat this, so I'm not gonna put them in that type of trade. And then it'd be one of those ones, you know, because that's why I feel like trading with or certain things it won't hit the chat. We'll just talk about it on the stream. I'll do it like that. Because like even with all of that commentary about it, you know, people just say, where are the call outs? Just give me the alerts. And that's, you know, we're gonna get that too. But yeah, I just want everybody to win when I see something that could be potentially a big move. I didn't care if I lost the whole trade. And I don't take that the wrong way. I'm saying that like for the amount of money that I could have made, you know, based off of the type of move that it could have been, because I've seen those types of, you know, the end of lockout periods, like you do back test it, go look and see when it happens with a lot of other stocks, what happened, depending on, you know, what the move is. You get the, you know, you want to take advantage of some of those opportunities when you can. And yeah, so. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a UNH. Shout out to AK again on that one. But you know, sometimes you in there already when something big happens, and that was an opportunity I didn't want the team to miss whether I was going to be around or not. So I gave as much commentary as possible, and yeah. So I mean, in closing though, I just wanted to get feedback from the team though. Like, do y'all get the pros and cons of both, and you get why it's a struggle by with saying, you know, maybe I shouldn't alert these types of trades or put them in certain types of situations. But then on the flip, I'm like, you know, when I take that stand and I don't, and it just I don't know like when I win by myself and y'all not in it, man. Like it's just something I'm like, damn, I wish I would have just put the team in it anyway. Or like with CVNA, I didn't do it because it was a very risky situation, and it was a very risky situation, and I just didn't. I could not deal with the you know the I couldn't deal with it, you know. So I didn't do it. I listened to KK that time, and I didn't do it. And I should have listened to her other times too. I listened to KK. I didn't do it, and it was like one of the probably biggest trades of the month, right? But I hate that, man. But that was just a risky situation, and it was expensive. But in this situation, I'm like, whenever I see something fairly priced, and I said I can make y'all a couple dollars first before we take the move, and what I want a commitment from the team is that if a trade doesn't work out, meaning like if we go into this bank and we say we're gonna rob this bank, right? And because the market is like a bank, right? We're gonna use that analogy. And we say, okay, but the vault isn't open. And it's not gonna, the vault is not open. So that means that the plan is for you. You're not gonna stay there with your guns drawn and just wait for the police to come and shoot you up, the SWAT team to get there and kill you, right? You're gonna abort the mission. So it's like nobody wants to abort the mission. Nobody ever takes okay, well, we got rules for when we swing, especially if it's a strangle or something like that at market open. I just want everybody to consider those rules. And if for any reason there's ever in doubt, you can say something. You know what I mean? That like say something. I know people. If you rather lose your money, you rather tell your family. I know a lot of people in this community got family, and they're doing this because they want extra income and they want to be able to live for financial freedom and all of that. That comes with being intact, being in control of your emotions too. You know what I mean? Like, of course, there are millionaires out here who aren't in control of their emotions. But they became famous from something else, from like some talent or something like that, right? But it never really, you know, yeah, but that's a whole nother story. But the whole point is if you got a situation where you were inspired to trade because you got family you want to take care of, you want to buy your time back so you can spend the little bit of time we have on this earth with your family, then that means you don't get to not speak up. Because what are your kids going to say when you tell them you lost the money because you got an ego? Because the last time you spoke up, somebody said something you didn't want to hear, so you don't want to go through that again. Like what? So your family's gonna you blew the money, the family's money, the family jewels because of you didn't want to say something and you didn't know what you were doing. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like, there's nothing wrong with being wrong because you're not expected to know everything. I know I don't know everything. If a team member asks me a question and I don't know the answer to it, I do not fake an answer. I never do that. I'm like, let me parking lot this and get back to you. Or I just don't know. Or I'll be like, look, I don't trade those stocks. I stay away from those things. Or I don't know what impact that's going to have. I'm gonna tell you straight up. Like, I'm not going to lie to you because that's a credibility issue. And I don't have to know everything. I have to know the things that I know very well, and that's what it's about. So, but if I don't know something, I'm willing to listen to other people and get feedback and I'll say I don't know. And because now that I said I admitted that I don't know this, then now, I'm not expected to know it. I'm not this perfect person. So that means if I don't know something, it's okay for me to ask questions and find additional information. The only time you speak in the chat should not have to be just for you to give people information and act like you know everything. You know what I mean? Like you could come in there and ask questions, like right now I'm trying to get some data points. I'm using the questions I'm asking you guys as data points to make the chat better, to increase profitability for everybody, because at the end of every month or the beginning of the next month, we celebrate a milestone or a victory of making another 6 bands per single option, if for everybody who just grabbed one option contract. So for every month we clearing over $6,000 in net profit. We almost at $50,000 on the year for just buying one contract. Now again, some people buy two, so some people at almost 100,000 a year, some people buy three, some people buy 10. You get what I'm saying? So but we are making money every month in here. But if you focus on the times where a trade don't work out, and that's all you focus on, you miss out on so much money. Because like I hate losing more than I love winning, but I'll get on this stream and stand in front of my losses, so we can learn from them and move on. So that's what we got to do, man. If and so I leave this meeting again. I'm just gonna tell y'all straight up. I'm like, damn, this will open it up for people to speak up. But it's like I leave this meeting again without more data points or more information, insight into the minds of these traders that aren't having the success that they should be having.
This is the time. And I struggled with that, Antoine. You could tell them like, oh God, for me to not for me to just not be perfect was such a hard thing for me. But when I started to ask questions, when I started to ask the right questions, it
Mm.
just changed my whole trading journey. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, because that's what you want to do. You want to be better. So like it's nothing to not to it's easy to just be quiet now, and then 5 minutes before the market opened, then you ask this question that could have been expounded on right now, and you could have gotten so much information, and yet you're going to get a curt answer, or you're going to get people like, why are you asking that right now, or like, why didn't you read this, or why didn't you do that? And that's frustrating to you too, right? So what do you think would be the easier out for you? It would be to just ask the question when you have the person available. And I will say that to people who can't get on the Zoom, because I know a lot of people on here. I see the people who in here, they have access, during the week to Zoom. But if you don't, this is the time for you. This is really the time.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
sorry. Yeah, no, I just had another comment. I know, like for some of the riskier trades, I think you spoke about it on Friday as well, that you basically, uh, I mean, would go ahead and alert it. And do you think it's going to be? I think we should leave it up to the individual with proper commentary on whether it's a risky trade or not, and leave it up to them whether they want to take it or not. I know you also mentioned about people leaving and then leaving really bad reviews, but is that something to think about?
Yeah, you're right though. Leaving it up to them whether but it's like, but I'm gonna tell you though, AK, a lot of people, what they'll do is it sounds good, but then they'll take every trade anyway. No, this is what happens. No, it's like this. They'll if a trade was if we cut a trade, right? The next trade they won't take, and that's the one they probably should take because I hate cutting trades, right? So if I cut a trade or had to cut a trade for any reason, like I humble myself a little bit. I'm gonna put more margin on my shot, right? So I'm gonna take some margin on the next shot to make sure it goes in when I hit it over the net. I'm gonna make sure it goes in. It's not gonna be out the next time. But what people do is they won't. But then if there's a big win, they don't care what the next trade is. It can be, you know, clown stock, the next trade. They just gonna jump in head first or whatever, with both feet and head first with the families, the King Jewels or whatever. But because a lot of people do that. So we got a lot of people who don't. They're not basing on whether it's a trade that they should take because of their level or whether their level of understanding or because I marked it as a YOLO trade. I got some people in here that anything that's a Lotto Friday trade or a 0 day to expiry, they're just not going to touch it. We got the different people in here, but then you got some people, they just, okay, I got money today, so I don't care what he calling out, I'm getting it. So we run into that. So I have to protect them because think, there's a lot of people in this community, but a lot of people they never say anything. I'm like, damn, I forgot they were in this group until I saw that bad review I got. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, wow, they could have just asked a question about that. And so I'm like, so that's why I be protecting the people who don't say anything. So that's why I'm like, the people who actually speak up sometimes, they be
And
the,
you're protecting the integrity of your community. I like
yeah,
our numbers. I don't feel like just calling out risky trades to everybody. Is it worth I don't think it's worth it. I mean, the risk doesn't outweigh the reward to me.
yeah, I
Hey,
agree. I agree
hey,
that it,
hey, before we hop off, can we hit UNH?
hold up, what's up, Quasi?
I said before we hop off, can we hit the UNH chart?
Yeah, okay. All right. I had it on my list, but I didn't hit it because UNH already because we had hit it on Friday too. But yeah, UNH, yeah. This is my last chart I'm hitting just to let everybody know because yeah. Yeah, I like UNH. It looks good. I like the pullback. I mean, Warren Buffett added it to his portfolio, when the hold up a second. Yeah. And I'm just gonna zoom out, show you the weekly. So, Warren Buffett added it to Berkshire Hathaway, and so everybody ran and jumped and bought on it. It was oversold anyway. We already knew that. Yeah, so it's right here, it's hidden right here at this resistance level on the weekly and the daily. And so if it breaks through here, I mean, it reclaimed the 50 already. Look like it's in play. So I'll just say over I'm gonna say over 311.28. So over 311. Then my first target would be 315.89, 324. The 52-week high on this one is at 326.55, and so it got a lot of upside that it can hit. I mean, it can go from here now to the downside if it loses a 294.71. First target on this one would be, well, I'm gonna say if it loses that 50. So let's just say right up under that under that level right there, under the 50. So I would say under 291.75. My first target would be 282.07. And then we got a huge gap fill right there that it could fill. But before then, we would get to that 260. What is that? 269.43. But yeah, like it looks like it wants to continue going higher. Pretty big move on it. And we have a good catalyst, a great catalyst with Warren Buffett adding it to Berkshire halfway and with the amount of shares that they bought. So yeah, no.
Hey, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it today. We
All
had
right,
a
no,
great meeting.
no problem. Thank you guys for staying on, for hanging out, and for your participation. I see you guys this week. Let's have a great week.
Well, thanks for having us, Antoine.
Hey,
Really do
let's go.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Appreciate the
Thank
time.
you.
No problem.